59 years ago, another New York institution, a venerable New York institution, came to Paris to discuss the New World Order. Her favorite uncle and husband had attended your law school, and after enduring years of economic depression and world war from the White House, she found herself here defending the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that she had fought so hard to draft under the auspices of the fledgling United Nations, which is today our best hope for international cooperation, peace, and security. In her landmark speech at the Sorbonne, titled "The Struggle for Human Rights," Eleanor Roosevelt expressed her wish and addressed a world weary and worried from totalitarian rule. Unlike today, Paris at that time bore the rubble scars of Nazi ambition, what she described as the greatest historical battles between freedom and tyranny. The same could have been said for much of Europe, Northern Africa, and the former Soviet Union. For them and for Roosevelt, the revolutionary cause of universal human rights had everything to do with shaking up this history, and with it, the oppression of external state-sponsored power. From freedom of speech and free press, freedom of religion and worship, and freedom of assembly and the right of petition, the right of men to be secure within their homes and free from unreasonable search and seizure, and from arbitrary arrest and punishment. Human rights for her generation meant preservation of human freedom for the individual. Do you ever stop to wonder what would have happened if the Universal Declaration of Human Rights had been declared before the 30s, before the World War? Would it have encouraged more people to speak up? Would it have given them something to hang their hats on? Would we have had more Schindlers, more Raoul Wallenbergs, because they had some point of reference? Anyway, I leave you to ponder that question. Today's special assembly offers us a fitting opportunity to take stock of how far human civilization has come since September 28, 1948, and to consider what the meaning of and the greatest threats to universal rights are today. Without question, we have taken great strides in the intervening decade to expand human rights. Last spring, for example, the International Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which includes the mentally ill, was adopted by the UN General Assembly. It was the quickest process for the adoption of such a human rights convention in the history of the UN. And people from around the world lobbied for it via the internet. And the World Summit in 2005 solemnly adopted the doctrine of responsibility to protect, meaning that governments have a responsibility to protect their citizens, their own citizens, from gross and systematic abuse of their human rights, from genocide, ethnic cleansing, and abuse of international humanitarian law. But that is only half of the question. That resolution, adopting the responsibility to protect, also places responsibility on the rest of us. It means we have no excuse to sit back and do nothing and claim it's an internal affair of such and such a state. Some crimes are so shameful, are so disgusting that they shame all of us, and they are not for attribution. Each and every one of us and our governments must ask, what can I do? What should we do? And that, I think, is a really important addition to the protection of the individual. Now, of course, we have to put it to a test. After this, the UN Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, which the General Assembly passed less than 2 weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, after 20 years of debate. Today we have 2 tribunals, one for Yugoslavia and Rwanda for war crimes. And there have been some really exciting gains. Rwanda Tribunal, for example, was the first one to come down with a judgment indicating rape was a war crime and a weapon in war.